Well, hello everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'm Sharon Christie with Bold Women Lawyers, and I have an exciting guest today, Lisa Wade. Lisa is a legal nurse consultant. Now, I have to tell you all, nurses are near and dear to my heart because I was a nurse before I became a lawyer. But I wanted Lisa to come on to talk to us today because legal nurse consultants can add great value to your business, can save you a lot of time and money getting through all those medical records that you may or may not understand any of. You might understand some of it. They can help you wade through, no pun intended, Lisa, wade through all of that and really give you a clear picture of what you're dealing with on the medical side. So I wanted her to come and talk to us today about what she does and how it can help you. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for having me. It's my first interview. I'm very excited.
Love it. I love it. I know, because you interview people all the time, right?
No,
but now, okay, you get to sit in the hot seat, all right?
Well, it's not that hot, I don't think.
No, it's not, and it won't be. But I'm going to ask you if you can just introduce yourself and your business, and tell me first, how did you even get into legal nurse consulting?
Well, thanks for having me. And how I got into legal nurse consulting. Well, first, my introduction. Hi, I'm Lisa Wade. I am owner of Wade Nurse Consultants. And we're in the Pennsylvania Willow Grove area, not too far from Philadelphia. And we are a bunch of nurse consultants. I have subcontractors or nurses, consultants that work with me of all different varieties of specialties. So we have what attorneys need. And how I got into this is I've been a nurse for many decades, over 30 years. I've been a nurse, and I realized that although I love nursing, I love what I've done, bedside nursing is not something that people can sustain for maybe their whole entire career. So we know nurses do a lot, especially nurses that are going on right now during this COVID crisis. It weighs a lot on a nurse, and years and years and decades of that, it's something I couldn't do forever, even though I enjoyed it. So I looked for something that I could do, not as intense, but to use my years and years of experience in the healthcare field, dealing with medical records. And I came upon legal nurse consulting, and what it is just an additional certification above and beyond my nursing degree and my nursing license, and with some training and education about the legal system, especially the litigation process, and passing that intense examination, I got my certification to be a legal nurse consultant, and I'm loving it.
Well, congratulations. It's not an easy road to go down. But let me follow up on something that you mentioned. You mentioned that you have other nurses that work with you in different areas of specialties. So if I'm interested in using a legal nurse consultant, would I need to ask for a specific specialty area? How would that work?
Well, if I didn't throw in there, I'm also a certified nurse case manager. And what that is a nurse that kind of dives in, finds out what your needs are, and pairs you up with the resources available to get those needs met. And that's what I kind of do for these attorneys. I find out what it is that they need, what kind of case they're litigating. And if it's an operating room case, medical malpractice, I'll find them a nurse that has worked in the operating room for decades to review those records. If it's an OB case, a problem, whether it's malpractice, I'll find an OB nurse that helps review those records in a quick and efficient manner. So they may not necessarily need a specific specialty, but if they do, I've got that.
So let's talk about what legal nurse consultants actually do, because you mentioned malpractice, and I think for a lot of lawyers, they think of those two in conjunction with one another. A malpractice case, oh yeah, legal nurse consultant, you would use that, but they might be saying to themselves, well, I don't do malpractice, I do personal injury, or I do estate work, or I do workers' comp, or some other field. Can you explain to us what legal nurse consultants do, whether it's malpractice or some other field that you might want to consider using one for?
Well, any place or any attorney that has injury, a part of that litigation or case that's going on, whether it is from personal injury, from car accident, or workers' comp, or workplace injury, or I have worked with geriatric, or I keep saying geriatric, I mean elder law attorneys for people that clients that may have a change in their cognition. I have been of help and assistance to assess their cognitive status at the time of a particular interview. So anywhere there is an issue or a concern with a medical or psychological or problems like that, legal nurse consultants can be a help, either to be maybe with you on a home visit to see if there's been any cognitive changes in a client that you've been dealing with on a regular basis, so you can know for yourself. Or if a legal nurse consultant can help find an expert that you need to be a part of that case and to support your case. So we are helpful like that.
Absolutely. Those are a couple of areas that actually I hadn't thought about, particularly the home visits. Never thought about that, but that's really an interesting thought. If the lawyer, so when you got called in saying this elder law problem, was it because the lawyer was concerned that there had been some type of cognitive change and wanted you to help assess that?
Well, actually, it's been several different issues that have come up. Maybe one was a new client where they had never met that client and that family before. So they weren't quite sure what was going on, who was in charge, who wasn't in charge, how capable this client was to sign documentations and even to retain them as an attorney. So I've been on a home visit like that, where I do a cognitive assessment, on the spot. I've been a home care nurse too for at least a dozen years in my history. So visiting people at home, doing that cognitive assessment, seeing how oriented they are, I've done that many, many times before. So that was one case, but there's been another where somebody that an attorney's been dealing with on a regular basis is not responding exactly the same way that they have before. So to get a feeling into what's going on with them, if they've had a stroke, if they had a change, something that's a little different, I've gone in and I've done that before. And also just to get a feel or have documentation that somebody is completely oriented before they sign legal papers, whether it's a will or whatever, to just to verify if they are
sure. And
that day.
I'm sorry, that could certainly come up, in the case of a will, if, say, somebody wanted to challenge the person's competency at the time that they signed it, you'd be there potentially, I would guess, to testify if it ever came to that, I was there, here's what I did, this is the results. And, they were, in my view, perfectly competent that they were able to answer all these questions. That's very interesting. Okay.
It hasn't come up yet. I haven't had to testify yet. So.
Well, you never know. You never know, right?
It's true.
But in terms of the actual, I think what we frequently think of as the work of a legal nurse consultant, reviewing medical records. Now, and then typically, would you provide a summary, or what happens after you've done the review?
Oh, well, I basically give what's asked. Sometimes I'll review records and an attorney only wants a chronological timeline of what happened from beginning, middle, and end. But sometimes they want or need some comments that really translates those records into a simple, easy narrative. And I can provide those. And I give that narrative in basic human everyday language, the way an attorney might communicate it to a judge or a jury if need be. But I guess I kind of turn thousands of pages of medical records and transform them into the Cliff Notes version that everybody can read through easily. And Cliff Notes, am I dating myself? Do they still use Cliff Notes?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I do. Well, that becomes extremely important, because if you're trying to explain to a jury or a judge what happened, they're not going to understand all that medical terminology. If you say so, my favorite as a nurse, was, well, they had a myocardial infarction. Well, that's okay medically, but they had a heart attack. Just say it the way that we all recognize it, right?
That's right.
So you're able to do that, to take that medical, terminology and put it into real people's language, right? Layman's terms.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you mentioned finding an expert. Do legal nurse consultants themselves serve as experts in cases, or do you mostly look for other experts?
Oh, yeah. Well, it could be, like I said, it depends on what that attorney needs. If it's regarding a nursing issue in the nursing home, maybe a problem that happened with a nurse or nurse malpractice, they may need a nursing expert. But if it is, if I've reviewed the records and I see they need a medical expert or orthopedic or a neurologist, we can locate those experts for them too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, we've mentioned medical malpractice, and you've talked about elder law. And you said earlier, well, really anything that involves some type of injury. So that certainly would include truck accidents, car accidents, motorcycle accidents, I would assume, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those regular slip and fall kinds of things that happened, nursing home, bed pressure ulcers, things of that nature. So anywhere that something has occurred or that is different medically, or maybe someone that has a long-term medical problem or history. Because we had talked once, and I told you that there was, it hasn't happened yet, but a divorce attorney that said, that may come up as maybe something that they need in some of these divorce cases. If there is a child with maybe long-term health issues, and trying to figure out what and how much their medical care is going to cost at what time, they may need a life care plan. Mm-hmm. And legal nurse consultants, there are some nurses that are certified just in life care planning, where they make estimates and cost projections and medical needs throughout the rest of that person's life. And a divorce attorney and a complex divorce that involves maybe a parent or a child with long-term medical problems, a legal nurse consultant might be helpful for diving into that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So one other area that I've heard, although, I had never used a nurse consultant this way, but I've heard from other lawyers that they have is, I'm sure you're familiar with the term IME, or a consultative exam. So in lots of different types of litigation, primarily, the other side will send the client, if you represent the person who's been injured, will send the client to see a doctor to have an examination. And I've heard from other lawyers that there are times when they will actually look for a nurse or a nurse consultant to go with their client to observe and then report back to the lawyer exactly what happened, how long it took, what the examination consisted of. Have you been involved in that at all, or heard of that?
Well, I do have other consultants and Wade nurse consultants that can and have gone out to do those examinations. I have done those examinations not as a legal nurse consultant or been a part of it, but as on the insurance side of things. I have been part of those exams. But definitely, it is something a legal nurse consultant can do. And to be there with maybe your injured client that is maybe a little uncertain, unsure, or uncomfortable. It's good to have somebody else there with them that knows what these exams consist of, what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening, what kinds of questions should be asked and definitely should be avoided. And to have somebody else there that knows how and when these exams occur, to have somebody else to gather info, be a resource. That's what I mean. To be a resource for.
So yeah, that certainly makes a lot of sense, because I know in my work when I handle disability cases and clients would be sent to different doctors for examinations, they would frequently report things like, I was only there for 10 minutes. The doctor barely touched me, kind of thing. And so that's really important information to have. And if you can actually have somebody in the room, if it, is cost effective in a particular kind of case, that's that much better. So let's talk about costs a little bit. How are these fees typically done? Is it by the hour or a flat fee, or how does that work?
Well, generally we work on an hourly fee, but I generally try and give an estimate, a rough estimate of how long something should take to give you an idea before we head out, before we do anything. So that hourly rate is, I think attorneys relate to that. So that is the same kind of thing that we do here. So
okay, and that makes sense, and because as lawyers who bill hourly know, you can give your best estimate. It may not be 100% accurate, but it's your best estimate. But that really helps to be able to budget in a case, and to also figure out, do the costs, are they justified in this type of case? How high a priority is it? Now, there's many, many, many cases where absolutely it's not just justified, it's really needed to effectively work up a case and prosecute the case. But I know, there can be other cases that are sort of on the fence, and, maybe they, instead of being able to send a nurse consultant to the exam, could perhaps say, well, listen, I would like you to, let's have a conversation with my client about what to expect, and, can you do that? That may be more cost effective, because ultimately the client is going to bear the cost in a case, and they may or may not be able to afford that, or they may not be willing to spend what it takes. On the other hand, and typically, as you know, in injury cases, you're only paying expenses if you win the case, but it gets deducted from the client's portion of the recovery. But in other cases, for sure, it's a given. Big in med mal cases, a lot of product liability cases, it's just a given. Legal nurse consultants are involved in these cases. So I'm going to ask the obvious question, but I'm going to ask it anyhow. At what point should somebody contact you to get involved with their case?
Well, I always encourage you to contact me even before you've taken it as a case, if you're screening a case, just to make sure the records match exactly what that potential client is saying, because sometimes they don't. And if you have a legal nurse consultant review and screen those records before you commit, it could be helpful in knowing if you should take that case or not.
That's an excellent point, because one thing that I found in my practice was it wasn't that clients were being intentionally deceptive. They were telling you what they really thought happened. Mm-hmm. And, because I had been a nurse, and I would think, that's not making any sense at all. And you're right. If you can't match up what they're telling you with what's recorded, and it's not exact, but at least if the overall picture of what they're saying happened isn't backed up by the medical evidence, you need to know that long before you get heavily involved in a case. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So legal nurse consultants, they're great. They're a great partner for lawyers in many cases. For a lot of cases, you just, shouldn't leave your office without one.
That's right.
That's right. You should have them there with you working on the case. Yeah. So Lisa, if people wanted to get in touch with you, I put your website up on the screen. So they can go to your website, and what, can they email you from there? How does your process work?
Oh yeah, you can go to my website, contact me there. You can connect with me via LinkedIn and check out my profile. Has all of my contact information, website right there. Or you can email me, Lisa at Wade Nurse Consultants with an S.com.
Terrific. Okay. Well, Lisa, as usual, it's been wonderful talking to you and sharing all of your information with us. For you lawyers out there that do work involving injuries, or as Lisa indicated, some elder law issues, and any other types of practice that involve injuries, or you have questions about somebody's medical condition, legal nurse consultants are a very effective way to be able to cut through the stuff that you don't understand, get to the bottom line, and then you can make informed decisions about your case. So I highly encourage people, if you need a legal nurse consultant, get in touch with Lisa. She's terrific. So Lisa, thank you. Thank you for your time today. And listeners, thank you so much. And viewers, thank you so much for being here. I'm here every week on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock doing a LinkedIn Live. So I hope you come back next week. We'll be talking more about things that you can do to streamline your practice. And next week's topic is actually, what do you do when everything goes sideways? Because we all have those periods in our business where everything goes sideways. So join us next week, and I look forward to seeing you then.
Thanks, Sharon.
You're welcome, Lisa. Bye.
Bye.